Hi, this is Greg Johnson with resourcesforlife.com, and this is a video response to a Canadian website visitor who wrote in asking about the small car movement. And this person is doing a report or study on the impact of small cars and their popularity. So their questions, as I recall, I'm just bringing this back from memory, had to do with, I guess, why are small cars popular and what necessarily makes them more environmentally friendly. Certainly, at the outset, what makes small cars more environmentally friendly is they are generally small. Obviously, the materials a car is constructed with will determine the vehicle's weight. So it's not just enough to be a small car. You also have to build with strong, secure, but lightweight materials. But in addition to being small and lightweight, if part of the concern about the environment has to do with the materials we're using in constructing whatever it might be, a car or a home, take, for example, the small house movement. There's a trend now among builders and those who are constructing new homes or seeking to buy existing homes. There's a trend toward smaller homes. Well, the reason is obviously because they use less energy, less fuel to heat and cool, just as a small car uses less energy to get it from point A to point B. But there's also the awareness and the concern about construction materials, right? So not only is a small car, going to be more fuel efficient as you own it, it's going to be more energy efficient when you drive the vehicle. So that's one of the primary reasons why small cars are, I guess, environmentally more friendly, is because if you build them with lightweight materials and if you use fuel-efficient engines in them, and you build them with, say, earth-friendly materials, there are some vehicles that are manufactured with recycled materials, plastics, metals, etc. So the potential's there for a wonderfully environmentally friendly vehicle. Now, certainly there are larger vehicles that are fuel efficient as well, because they are hybrids and they do utilize better materials in their construction. But generally speaking, small cars are going to be better for the planet, and they take up less room, for parking and less room on the roads because they weigh less typically. A small car is going to do much less damage to the road, let's say, than this dump truck over here or a bus. Heavy vehicles are responsible for much damage to the roads, and so there's an environmental cost there that most people don't factor in. A small car doing less damage to the roads is going to result in, per capita, less highway construction costs and all of the negative externalities and side effects that go along with highway construction and road repair and that type of thing. So really, I guess those are kind of a handful of comments. And then finally, when you're dealing with a smaller vehicle, a small car with a small engine and an appropriately effective exhaust system to quiet the vehicle, you end up with less environmental noise, less noise pollution. You might have heard earlier in this video, as I was walking over to where I am now, lots of noise from trucks and large vehicles. It's really annoying, So with small cars, whether they're, powered by traditional fuels or powered by hydrogen or electric or whatever, you just end up with a quieter environment, which is much more pleasant and pleasing. And then I guess finally I'd point out that there's really, I think, quite a bit of parallel between the small car movement and the small home movement. Let me just have you think about this, for example. A large home is probably going to make it impractical, not impossible, but impractical, to go with solar and wind. I spoke with a gentleman who lives about 30 miles north of here. He decided to go off the grid. He has a traditional size home, about 2,000 square feet. It cost him about $25,000 to go off the grid, because a home of that size just needs that much energy, right? Well, smaller homes make wind power and solar power more feasible, more practical. And the same is true for small cars. If you don't need a huge power plant like the car that just drove by, if you don't need a huge power plant under the hood to make that vehicle move, then you have a smaller engine, right? Well, it's going to be quieter, as I mentioned. It also makes it more feasible then to have electric powered vehicles if they're small, if they're lightweight. If you're trying to move a semi-truck or a huge SUV, it's not quite as practical to move 3,000, 4,000 pounds around with a little electric motor, right? So that's one of the other benefits of smaller vehicles, is that they can allow us to embrace some of these alternative fuels and alternative powered solutions that are becoming available. So all that wrapped together, the fact that they're quieter, they use less materials to construct, they take up less space on the road, less space for parking, they allow us to use alternative energy much more efficiently. There's a long list of benefits to smaller vehicles. And that's why half the world, I'll just throw out a number, I would say 50%, but it's probably more like 90%. Pretty much the entire world has tiny vehicles, tiny cars. And to us here in the United States, it's kind of an oddity. We see these other countries and urban centers where you'll see lots of tiny cars going around. It's fine, people enjoy them, and those countries are doing quite well for it. In fact, in India, I was there a few times this past year. I noticed that the LP gas is being used for small vehicles. It works just fine, and you'll often see 4 or 5 people in a small car. Most people don't stop to ask the question, what do I need to get from home to work? That's 90% of your driving. And so, do you need, say, the, whatever this is a limited edition Highlander, Toyota, whatever. Do you need that kind of vehicle just to get to work? Probably not. If you're doing the 4 days a year trip to the outback or whatever, here's your Grand Cherokee, whatever, Laredo, that's probably fine for off-roading and stuff, but basically for most people's needs, for 90% of the time, you can get by fine with a small car. And so that's what's, I think, fueling, no pun intended, the small car movement, is that people realize, I don't need a huge vehicle. I mean, if I need something big, I can rent an RV or rent whatever. But for the day-to-day, a lot of people are just going with small vehicles. They're going with rental cars, bicycles, taxi cabs. There are all kinds of options. And anyway, I hope this provides an abundant array of comments to answer some of the questions from our Canadian website visitor. And if not, or if there are other questions out there, feel free to email in. I'm happy to take some time and answer those. Take care.